As America approaches its 250th birthday in 2026, a question lingers. If some claim empires follow a 250-year cycle, what, if anything, does history suggest about our current moment? This premise has propelled Sir John Glubb's pamphlet, The Fate of Empires, back into modern discourse. His theory describes a predictable life cycle for great powers. 6 stages that allegedly sum to about 250 years. Today, we explore that claim. We'll examine Glubb's argument, check it against historical evidence, and consider alternative frameworks for understanding rise and fall. Who was Sir John Glubb? Sir John Glubb Pasha was a British officer who commanded the Arab Legion in Jordan and later wrote popular histories. In 1976, he released a short pamphlet titled The Fate of Empires and Search for Survival. It proposes that empires pass through 6 stages: pioneers, conquest, commerce, affluence, intellect, and decadence, and that each stage unfolds over roughly 250 years. His essay stayed relatively obscure until recently. Now, as the United States nears its 250th year, Glubb's thesis resurges in social media memes and opinion pieces. People wonder whether America is entering its final stage. Professional historians, however, urge caution. They say Glubb's theory simplifies complex historical processes and relies on selective examples. To evaluate these claims, we begin by presenting his 6 ages as he laid them out. The 6 ages and the 250-year lifespan. Glubb's cycle starts with an age of pioneers. A small group displays courage, thrift, and self-sacrifice. This energy fuels an age of conquest. Disciplined leaders expand the empire's reach. As territories and trade routes increase, the age of commerce follows. Wealth grows, technology and arts flourish. Prosperity ushers in an age of affluence. Education becomes widespread, but shifts from civic duty to personal gain. An age of intellect emerges. Intellectuals record history, critique traditions, and emphasize reason. Yet Glubb believes they can become detached from practical realities. Finally, an age of decadence sets in. Society pursues pleasure, relies on mercenaries and welfare, and loses civic virtue. This decadence, he claims, leaves empires vulnerable to conquest by groups with stronger social cohesion. He cites Greece, the Roman Republic, the Roman Empire, the Arab Empire, the Mamluk Sultanate, the Ottoman Empire, Spain, the Romanov dynasty, and Britain as examples. He assigns each roughly 250 years of greatness and blames moral decay rather than external forces for decline. Affluence, he argues, undermines discipline. Politicians offer subsidies and spectacle. Societies import foreign labor. Social cohesion erodes. It's a compelling narrative, but how does it match the historical record? Do the numbers hold up? Glubb's timeline relies on selective endpoints, late start dates, and omitted empires. These choices matter because they create the illusion of a universal pattern. First, consider his end dates. He stops the Roman Empire at 180 CE, yet the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire continues until 1453. And some argue its legacy survives even longer. By ending at a high point, Glubb ignores centuries of resilience, adaptation, and decline. He truncates the Ottoman story in 1570, though the empire endures until 1922. Spain's narrative ends in 1750, despite its continued rule in the Americas and Africa for generations. Why do selective endpoints matter? Because they distort cause and effect. By cutting off a timeline at a moment of peak power, we avoid confronting the processes of transformation that follow. The Ottoman Empire in the 17th and 18th centuries grappled with administrative reforms and external pressures. Spain navigated economic shifts, colonial resistance, and modernization. These stories are messy, not neat conclusions. Glubb also chooses late start dates. He begins the Romanov dynasty in 1682, although it starts in 1613. For Britain, he resets the clock at 1700, omitting a century of exploration and colonization. In reality, English imperial ventures began in the late 15th and 16th centuries. John Cabot sailed to North America in 1497. Privateers like Francis Drake targeted Spanish ships. Early colonies, Roanoke, Jamestown, were attempted under the Tudors and Stuarts. Setting the start at 1700 compresses Britain's imperial timeline and makes it fit a 250-year arc. Late start dates matter because they erase formative decades. The early English ventures were often tentative or failed, but they laid foundations for later power. Omitting them flattens the developmental curve into a predetermined length. Similarly, starting the Romanov clock late hides the dynasty's initial consolidation and early challenges. Next, Glubb omits long-lived empires. He ignores ancient Egypt, which lasted millennia. He overlooks Chinese dynasties such as the Han or Qing, each spanning centuries. Indian empires like the Maurya and Gupta shaped South Asia far beyond his examples. Even within his own list, the durations vary. The Roman Republic lasted from 509 BCE to 27 BCE, roughly 500 years. Glubb variously ends it at 276 BCE, at 146 BCE, and occasionally at 27 BCE. Each version compresses the duration to fit his 250-year pattern. The Ottoman Empire existed from 1299 to 1922, over 6 centuries, but he ends it in the 16th century. Only the Mamluk Sultanate fits his patterns by governing Egypt and Syria from 1250 to 1517, about 267 years. Singling out one example that aligns does not prove a rule. Why do omissions matter? They bias the dataset. Leaving out Egypt or China means ignoring counterexamples that could challenge the theory. Including only empires that could be compressed into 250 years by truncating their start or end creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. Glubb also conflates distinct political units. He treats the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates as a single Arab empire, smoothing over important differences. He uses the Mamluk Sultanate to represent the Arab world while ignoring the complexities of other Muslim empires. Conflating entities allows him to average durations and claim consistency where there's diversity. And then there's cherry picking. He emphasizes the Mamluk Sultanate because its 267-year run matches his pattern, but he downplays Spain's 4 centuries of overseas rule, beginning after 1492, continuing through independence movements in the 1820s, persisting in Africa until 1975, and even holding the enclaves of Ceuta and Melilla after Moroccan independence. He ignores that Britain's imperial era did not end with the loss of American colonies. It expanded dramatically in the 19th century, climaxed in the early 20th, and persisted until the handover of Hong Kong in 1997. By selecting data points that fit his thesis and excluding ones that don't, Glubb constructs a pattern out of noise. Taken together, the late starts, early ends, omissions, and conflations reveal a methodological problem. Glubb is not discovering a law of history. He is retrofitting a narrative to a preconceived length. Recognizing this helps us shift from searching for hidden cycles to understanding the complex factors that shape each empire's unique trajectory. Critiques of cyclical determinism. Mainstream historians are skeptical of fixed life cycles. They view history as a complex interplay of forces: economic, political, social, environmental. Reducing that complexity to a single biological analogy oversimplifies and misleads. Oswald Spengler's early 20th century work likened cultures to organisms with predetermined lifespans. Today, scholars consider his biologistic analogy ideologically loaded and lacking empirical support. Deterministic narratives can be misused by ideologues who cherry-pick evidence to promote fatalistic or nationalist agendas. Critics also stress that decline seldom results from moral decay alone. Economic change, demographic pressure, technological shifts, external invasion, and environmental factors all play significant roles. When investigating the 250-year claim, experts highlighted empires like the Roman, Egyptian, and Ottoman as longer lived than Glubb allows. Peter Saris bluntly called the 250-year assertion pure fantasy. Instead of hunting for a countdown, historians encourage us to examine causes and contexts. Comparative perspectives. How other historians explain rise and fall. Scholars have proposed models that avoid fixed clocks. Arnold Toynbee studied 21 civilizations. He argued that creative minorities respond to challenges with innovation. Societies decline when elites become complacent and fail to inspire. He did not assign durations to these cycles. Fernand Braudel focused on long-term structures: geography, economy, demography. His longue durée emphasizes deep currents like climate and trade, rejecting deterministic cycles. In his view, mountains, rivers, and trade winds shape history as much as kings and battles. Peter Turchin's structural demographic theory models interactions among population, elites, and state. He predicted cycles of instability, driven by labor oversupply and elite overproduction. Yet, a 2023 PLOS One study testing this model on US data from 1948 to 2020 found none of its predictions held. Wage polarization resulted from automation and inequality. Elite incomes rose rather than peaked. Elite overproduction did not predict unrest. Rising inequality, spurred by technology and globalization, explained political stress. Oswald Spengler serves as a cautionary example. His biologistic analogy for cultures is dismissed as pseudoscientific. Jared Diamond's collapse highlights environmental mismanagement, but has been criticized for underplaying factors like disease, slavery, and colonialism. Quincy Wright examined cycles of war and peace. He found patterns, but stressed that legal and institutional innovations could alter them, underscoring human agency. Across these perspectives, one theme stands out. There is no universal 250-year clock. Scholars emphasize multiple factors: moral, economic, environmental, institutional, and recognize contingency. Lessons and critiques. Several lessons emerge from comparing these models. First, avoid deterministic cycles. Patterns appear in history, but societies do not march to a single beat. Outcomes arise from multiple, interacting forces. Second, test theories against data. The 2023 structural demographic analysis is a reminder that elegant narratives are not enough. In industrialized societies, wage stagnation traces to technology and inequality, not simply to elite overproduction. Third, be wary of pseudoscientific analogies. Spengler's biologistic model maps cultural change onto the human lifespan. It's ideologically loaded, and adopting it uncritically risks importing outdated assumptions. Fourth, remember that history is both art and science. Quantitative models can reveal trends, but narrative, context, and human agency remain central. Reducing revolutions to equations strips away their texture. Finally, appreciate diversity and complexity. Geography, climate, demography, values, institutions, and technology all interact. No single variable explains everything. Humility is a better guide than prediction. Glubb's warnings about complacency and inequality have merit, but his rigid timelines and moral determinism mislead. A critical synthesis draws from multiple voices. Toynbee highlights creative responses to challenges. Braudel points to deep structures. Empirical tests caution against unfounded cycles. Spengler's examples warn us to scrutinize metaphors. Together, these perspectives argue for complexity. As the United States approaches its 250th anniversary, the real question is not when decline must occur, but how to build resilience. That means strengthening institutions, addressing inequality, investing in education and science, and stewarding the environment. History teaches possibilities. The real lesson is not when empires fall, but how societies can adapt before crises spiral. The future is not a countdown, it's a set of choices. By learning from the past, we can choose wisely. America's 250th birthday invites reflection. Glubb's 250-year cycle provides a tidy narrative, but the historical record shows empires are not bound by a stopwatch. The Roman Republic lasted nearly 5 centuries. The Ottoman Empire endured for more than 6. Civilizations rise and fall for many reasons: economic shifts, social cohesion, political decisions, not because of a fixed expiration date. What should we take from this? Focus on the values and institutions that sustain societies. Courage, innovation, fairness, and a sense of common purpose. History shows that societies thrive when they adapt to new challenges and falter when they deny them. As we look on to 2026, we can honor the past, not by fearing an inevitable fall, but by recommitting to the principles that strengthen civic life. Humans crave patterns, especially in uncertain times. Glubb's 250-year cycle offers the comfort of a narrative arc. Yet history resists a reduction. Its richness lies in contingency and complexity. Civilizations are not organisms with preset lifespans. They are human creations subject to human choices and unpredictable forces. As America marks its 250th year, perhaps the more profound questions are: What values guide us? How do we build institutions that can adapt? How do we honor diversity and encourage creativity? When we look at footage of thinkers writing, quiet streets at dawn, or the glow of an abstract sunset, we see continuity and change. These images remind us that time moves forward, but our actions shape its course. History is a mirror reflecting our priorities. What we choose to see and to do matters more than a mythical countdown. As this chapter closes, one scroll unrolls into the next. The arc of history is not a tidy cycle, but a tapestry woven from countless choices, struggles, and transformations. Thank you for watching Critical Scrolls. Subscribe if you'd like to be here for the next scroll we open together.